All right. Hello, everybody. Today, we're going to be doing a multiple things. I am sharing our mortgage readiness app from Black Diamond Mortgage. So if you're watching this and you're a Black Diamond Mortgage client or referral partner and you were told to check out our mortgage readiness app, this can be a way for you to see what it is and whether you want anything to do with it before you try it. So I am going to run through the app in an actual demo. And then if you are just learning about it, then I'm going to be talking about it today, and that can also be valuable. So this will be both a how does our app work, and also if you're going to do it, you'll be able to get a quick overview before you try it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a tutorial from the developer that is very cool. It kind of gives you all that it does. And then you'll be able to then go ahead and do it yourself. So before I play the tutorial, I want to show you just this part right here. So Black Diamond Mortgage in the top corner there. So this is our mortgage readiness app. And so basically when you, this link right here would be provided to you, and it'll take you to the screen we're looking at, and then you basically sign in. And I'm going to take a risk here, move something. Okay. And then I'm going to say, get started here. Let's see what happens. And take a look here. So you create your account, your roadmap to home ownership. Okay. So that's what you see when you go to start it. What I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to start the demo from the company that created it for us, and I'm going to stop it every once in a while, make some comments. But what it is in your journey to home ownership, if you hit a roadblock such as your credit isn't quite good enough and you want to keep working toward home ownership, this app is for you. The whole point of it is you can see right here the credit score is part of the app, and you can see your own credit score and you can work on your credit. Or maybe you hit a roadblock and the income is not quite enough, and you're going to work on your budget, and you're going to work on, trying to get yourself in a position to buy a home. So your net worth and your cash flow and all that can be worked on in your own app on your own time. And then you can kind of see how you're doing. What's really cool is when you're ready, you can actually let the app know that you'd like to deliver all the information to your loan officer. And it doesn't even have to be Black Diamond Mortgage. You could give it to any loan officer in the form of a file that they can import into their system. And it would take everything that you've done up until that point and put it into the loan application so that you're on your way to getting an approval. So that's what this app does. So I'm going to hit play, and you're going to be hearing Brian Vo. He's our rep. He's the guy that runs the company. The company's called FinLocker, and then they created for us a private label app. So it's the Black Diamond Mortgage Homeownership Readiness app. So I'm going to hit play. He's talking about what happens when you first get into the app, and I'll hit pause and I'll add some commentary, and hopefully you'll find this valuable. So here we go.
From a consumer perspective, once they've
I can hear it now.
So they've been invited to the locker. They've set up their locker.
So what
which
you're
is a
seeing
four-step
again
process, takes
is
about 30
Brian
seconds.
is showing
Most
us
of these widgets
the
will be empty, and they'll start to be taken through a process to start to activate the widgets. The first step in the process, the first thing that FinLocker asks the consumer is if they'd like to enroll for credit. The credit score then is displayed. We are bringing in a VantageScore 3.0 today. The credit score and the report behind it are updated every 30 days based on the day that they set up. From here, the user can drill into the credit report, see all the accounts on their report, drill into specific accounts, see the credit limit, pay, the monthly.
So just real quick. So a lot of consumers go to like freecreditreport.com and places like that. They don't get to see their score. Here you do. And then you're actually interacting with your own credit report. And so he's talking about that right now. This is what you can do with the app.
Payment, the date open, pay history, etc. There's quick links to the right for credit education items. What is a credit score? What's a good credit score? How do I improve my credit score? They can see some summary information on their credit report, including any alerts that may be on their credit report, like a new account that was opened or a new account that was closed. Any inquiries, hard inquiries would show up here as well. In addition to seeing this information in the widget itself, the user would also be communicated directly by the locker. So if they downloaded the app, they'll have an in-app notification saying things like your credit score has changed, or there's a new account that's been opened or a new account that's been closed. And that.
So this part's cool because if you set up the FinLocker or the mortgage readiness app and then you forget all about it, and we give it to you, we'll get noticed when your situation improves, and we might just reach out to you and go, hey, do you know that things are getting better? And so he's just pointing out that we would let you know and want to see if you're ready to maybe pick up the ball where you left off.
That link will bring them back to the locker. So that's kind of the high level of the credit widget. Go back to the dashboard here, and I'll show you the next step in the process where the consumers ask now if they'd like to add their financial accounts. So before I go into the financial accounts widget, I will point out there's a handful of financial widgets that are powered by the consumer adding their financial accounts. The spending analysis here, asset allocation, the net worth, cash flow, and budgets and goals. So all of those kind of come to life once the user starts to add their financial accounts. So I'm going to drill into our accounts widget here. And what we're going to see right out of the gate is that there are about a dozen accounts already enrolled in this locker. The green font represents the asset accounts, checking and savings in this case, even a money market. The red font represents our liabilities. We've got a mortgage and a couple credit cards. In addition to your standard, checking savings accounts, on the asset side of the ledger, users can enroll things like IRAs, 401ks, investment accounts, even life insurance policies. On the liability side.
So just real quick, like when you apply for a mortgage at a mortgage office, they need to input your assets and your liabilities. So if you're using the mortgage readiness app, when it pulls your credit, and it's not a credit pull, it's just an access. You're not pulling your credit in the literal sense, but that information is now like if you were filling out your application, you don't have to fill that out. And then when you put your banks in there, it'll update them. So if you a year later have more money in your account, it already knows, and you can pass that on to the loan officer just by handing over the data from the app.
Mortgage, credit card, auto loans, student loans, charge cards, gas cards. I even have a personal, my home and auto insurance policy through Liberty Mutual, as well as my cellular account with Verizon enrolled in my locker. So once these accounts are enrolled, the locker on day one brings in transactional data. 70% of the accounts that a consumer enrolls in the locker, FinLocker is bringing in 12 to 24 months of historical transactional data. So there's meaningful data right out of the gate that's going to power those financial widgets on the dashboard that we'll come back to. Every evening, FinLocker harvests the transactional data from each of the accounts in the locker, brings them into the locker here. You can see here, we've got a last update that occurred overnight last night. We have transactions as recent as 9/7. If I were to click this black button here where it says manually refresh accounts, if I click that, FinLocker is going to go out and refresh these 4 Midland States bank accounts. And then any recent transactions as recent as like within the last hour would show up in here. So the user in the locker can manually refresh at any time. Otherwise, FinLocker refreshes, basically sometime between midnight and 2 a.m. So let me now jump back to let me show you one thing here while we're in this view real quick. So I just want to show you the power of the data that's in here, how it's categorized and further subcategorized, and what the user can do from the locker. So as a user, if I want to just sort and see my direct deposits from my job, or jobs in this case, 2 clicks, and I've just pivoted all my data to show me just the direct deposits from these 2 payroll accounts, FinLocker and BSI Constructors. And you can see they're coming from 2 different accounts. So in one view on this dashboard here, I can see multiple transactions from 2 different accounts And this, again, I filtered down just to show my direct deposit data. Adding an account is very simple. You simply type in the financial institution. So I bank with Flagstar Bank. I would just log in here like I was logging into my Flagstar account, click login. Flagstar would text me a 5-digit code. I would enter it in a modal window that would open here, and then my account would start to enroll in the locker. So once again, once financial accounts are enrolled in the locker, these other financial widgets come to life. The first one being spending analysis. So here the user is brought into their current month to date spending. So this is all about spending. So we're looking at September month to date. You can see down here we've got some groupings: travel, utilities, services, food and dining, etc. We show the same data, just a little bit different visually up here. The user can click either into the table below or up here and sort the transactions over to the right to just filter down to, in this case, food and dining. So I just filtered all my spending for the month of September down to food and dining. There's 10 transactions. They're between restaurants, groceries, and fast food. So again, we're getting very granular on the actual data. In this case, our user has set up some spending budgets, one for groceries, one for dining out. Their current trajectory for September has them exceeding their budget for groceries, but being well under their budget for dining out. So this is how we take the custom budgets and then the consumer can view them from the spending widget. While we're on the subject of budgets, I'm going to pivot over and show you the custom budgets. This is where a user can set up custom budgets. There's our grocery budget that we just saw in the last view. Here's our dining out. There's a handful of other budgets that have been set up. And we've got quick links here for wizards to set up additional budgets. Users can also create a savings goal. And I'm going to show you that from a different point of view. FinLocker's taken the HUD-approved housing counselor budget format, including their suggested percentages of spending. And once the user has input their annual income, one time they set up their deductions from their pay stubs, and then we get this net monthly income number, and then FinLocker will automatically create line item budgets in pretty great detail, again, using the suggested percentages from the HUD-approved housing counseling budget. And then we're going to track the actual expenditures from the user's transactional data against each line item. And so in real time, daily, they can see where they stand with all of these budget items. We have the same view in beta for net worth. In this case, there's two columns here. The column on the left represents the data that's coming from accounts that are already enrolled in the locker, so assets and liabilities. And then the column to the right allows the user to input self-reported information. So in this case, savings bonds is a good example. There's no way to track online the value of savings bonds, so the user would do that manually here. And the key here is now they have an updated net worth statement that literally is updating in real time as values in their locker change. Homeowners, they've enrolled their property address, they can upload a photo, and now we're bringing in their estimated home value. This is coming from a set of data with an integration that we have with CoreLogic.
So I have this app and it sends me an update once a month on what it thinks my home value is. It's kind of like a conglomeration of multiple sources. So there's Zillow, Realtor.com, CoreLogic, and then it kind of blends them all and gives you a value. So the cool thing is if you already have a home or you're already good to go, this app also is just a nice way to keep track of your situation and see what your net worth is. And, I always like to, if my home value goes down a little bit, I'm like, what's going on? Or if it's up, I'm like, yay. And so I get these updates in my email inbox.
You can see we're also providing a view of their estimated home equity. And this is derived by taking this estimated value and subtracting from it the actual current outstanding balance from their mortgage. And this is coming from that mortgage that's enrolled in the locker. So in real time, basically, if a payment was made yesterday, we would see that balance reflected here. And then that estimated equity available would change. Coming soon, this is a late Q4, early Q1 of 21 initiative. We're building out a digital financial assistant. We call her Madison. And in this case, Madison would be telling our locker user that she sees $178,000 plus in equity and $38,000 in credit card debt. and wants to know if our user is interested in looking at consolidating the debt with cash out or home equity. Clicking yes, once this is integrated with a lender's pricing and product engine, we can bring back specific products and programs pricing as well to for the consumer to consider, and then they could literally trigger the starting of an application right from this link. So this digital financial assistant will be something that, again, we're building out with our partnership with Microsoft. In this widget, the users also provided recently sold data on properties near the subject property. Jumping back to the dashboard, I'll go into real estate search and show you this real quick. So this is going to be helpful for your consumers who are on their journey towards home ownership. I'll just do a quick search by zip code. It's going to look very much like Zillow or Realtor.com search, but the key is they're doing this search inside their locker. They're not out on a site where they're...
So where this is valuable is if you want to search real estate without activating a realtor and you're in the app, you have access to the same information to see what's on the market, and you are not pinging somebody. You're just kind of discreetly doing it on your own. So you can do it that way while you're working on your homeownership journey. And then when you're ready, you can let them know. But you can keep an eye on the market without having to engage anybody, just to get access to the information, and you can track it yourself.
Going to be marketed by other financial institutions, lenders, etc. Users can favorite properties, and those will be stored in the locker. They can also create a search criteria, zip code down to neighborhood, bedrooms, bathrooms, etc. So next thing I'll show you is our education library, deep library of content. Quick links out to sites like Freddie Mac, both in English and Spanish. Their Credit Smart tutorial, 140 plus videos in here all around homeownership and mortgage. Kind of a self-serve library for the user to come in and get questions answered. We're also building out a curriculum specific to personas like a first-time homebuyer, where they'll be provided recommended videos in the locker that they should review. We have our dynamic calculators. So there's 4 calculators in here, one for early payoff, home equity line of credit, debt consolidation. The one that's opening now is home affordability. The locker right now is taking data from the consumer's locker, so it's the consumer's actual data, and then analyzing it to provide feedback based on how much home they can afford, based on the inputs into the locker, their income, their debts, as well as their credit score. And then just for purposes of demonstrating this maybe as a first-time homebuyer example, let's lower our purchase price to somewhere in the $230 range. And you can see we just dynamically change the payments. We have, this one is defaulted to FHA.
Now it's set a home in the 230 range. So this is a 3-year-old video. So it will currently show more realistic numbers for 2024.
The consumer can change to conventional or VA product. They also can change the terms, 30-year down to 15-year, or even the interest rate. From here, if I'm looking at an FHA as an example, we've estimated some down payment and closing costs that are needed. And from here, I can create a savings goal off of this number, off of this 31,500. One click takes me back to that budgets and goals worksheet where I can set up a goal to save 31,000. I could create the date of when I want to save it by. This also becomes a measurable for the lender or servicer. When these goals get set up, you'll have information to know which lockers have set up goals and be able to track where they are in those goals. And then I can pick the account or accounts that I want to link this goal to. So in this case, it's this personal checking account. It's going to be allocated towards my down payment goal. Let's go there, 27%. How's that? I click submit, and now that goal is going to be set up. There's my 31,500 goal. There's already 1,900 in my account, and now we're basically tracking in real time every day as that account changes in value. The user is, can be updated here in the locker. The locker also sends in-app notifications when they're on budget or on target for goals and budgets, etc. Here's a sample of a bunch of those different notifications. Next thing I'm going to show is our readiness assessment. So again, the locker is analyzing the consumer's data in the locker. We verified that they've completed the profile, enrolled at least their credit and their one asset account rather. So in this case, they're good to go on credit, no bankruptcies, no foreclosures, no lates. But then we get down to debt to income ratio, and they're at 59.11 versus a target of 45 or a guideline of 45. Again, this is the rules engine guidelines that are defaulted to Fannie Freddie. This is configurable as well. This is where the locker serves up a couple of very specific videos. The first one is a short video explaining
Debt to income ratio, or DTI, reflects the amount you
Once they've learned about DTI.
One of the most important things you can do before you take out a home loan is to establish a household budget to evaluate how much.
Once they get all green checks, the consumer's alerted that they're, congratulations, your mortgage ready, or whatever the terminology is that our lender partner wants to provide. And then they're driven into that application process that I showed you, and I'm going to show you here in a minute. So now I'm going to step back to the dashboard and start the mortgage application process from the locker. So this, if you recall, it's a configurable offers widget. So in this case, they're all going to the same place, starting a mortgage application. Imagine, if you will, our customer has run a pre-approval. Great news, you're good to go. You're eligible to start your process. They click the call to action. FinLocker starts to gather information, both from their profile as well as from their enrolled accounts in the locker. Loan amount. This is the income they put in their profile. We ask them to verify that here. They are able to add a co-borrower if they'd like. I'm going to skip through that. And then we get to the sharing screen. Here's our borrower and all of his contact information. And now we're going to see the information that's shareable from this consumer's locker. So first off, the bank accounts. There's 5 bank accounts in this locker, but for this application and based on the coaching that the consumer's gone through, he's not going to share this little Wells account or his health savings account. He'll share the.
So this is important, but the consumer controls all the information. So he mentioned kind of in passing that the consumer might have been coached on a certain account. So what if you had 6 bank accounts? One of the bank accounts, you had a bad month, and you had a whole bunch of lates, and they indicated as such on the bank statement that you had overdrawn, and your loan officer's like, hey, when we go to apply for the mortgage, let's not even like put that account on the loan application because it makes you look bad. So you have all your accounts enrolled in the app, but now it's time to apply for the mortgage. You can actually pick what the loan officer gets in the loan application.
Liability data. He stored documents. I didn't show you the documents folder, but we have shareable document folders. In this case, the locker user has stored their tax returns and has kept their pay stubs up to date as well. And then any other miscellaneous docs like a letter of explanation, a divorce decree, etc., can be shared. User is going to consent and acknowledge they're sharing this with their originator for purposes of a mortgage application. And now FinLocker is sending an email directly to the loan officer, processor, or servicer's representative, or in the case where we have a direct integration to our client's POS or LOS, sending the data directly there. For this demo, I'm going to show you how the loan officer or processor is going to receive the information that the consumer shared. So in real time, our loan officer, which by the way is me here, is getting an email from FinLocker saying that a user has shared information from their locker for a mortgage application. There's the email. I click the link and I'm logging into the admin portal of FinLocker. I've already pre-logged in, just keep this moving. Here's my borrower, Brian Garcia, that's shared from his locker. I'm going to see a summary of the data and documents that are being shared from Brian's locker. First thing I'm going to see is those 3 asset accounts with balance and the truncated account number. There's the 3 liability accounts, the pay statements, tax returns, letter of explanation for credit, and divorce decree. I'm going to click accept, and then I'm going to speed down here because I'm going to fast track it, and then download. And now on my desktop, I'm going to see the pay statements that were shared, tax returns, the other pay statement. There's the data, the Fannie Mae 3.2 file or the MISMO equivalent, the credit letter of explanation, the divorce decree, and then we also create an asset report taking the digital asset data from those 3 bank accounts and putting them into a standardized asset report that's accepted by Fannie, Freddie. It's good for FHA, VA for an acceptable asset verification documentation. You can see we got the summary of our 3 accounts, the deposits, and then we break each account up in its own page. So that's a quick update on FinLocker. I did go pretty fast, covered a lot of ground.
So again, that was the presentation from the software developer. A couple things that are not included in this. You see up here that we went over before, you have access to your credit report. There's a credit simulator. So when you're in there, you have the ability to, if there's like a particular item on your credit report that is causing your score to be low, you can run a simulation where what if I pay that debt off? What will it do to my score? And it'll actually provide you instantaneous feedback on how you can go about improving your credit score by taking each individual line item and manipulating it and seeing what it would do to the credit score. And then as you see, you can keep it as up to date as you would like. It doesn't really matter what level that you engage with it, but you can hand it over to your loan officer at any point. You can also never hand it over to the loan officer. You can just keep it yourself, and you can just kind of know where you stand so that when you go in to apply, you're not going to be surprised by what you see from a loan officer. You can also work with Black Diamond and use this app and work with it for a while and decide that you don't like us anymore, sadly, which would never happen. But then you could hand it over to a different loan officer in the same manner, because you're just going to click a few buttons and it's going to give them the ability to access the information. Our hope is that you appreciate the level of detail and the ability to control your own destiny, and you'd want to apply with us. So this app, again, going back to, I don't know if I can get it back, but I had a example on another screen of what it looks like when you go into our app. But we would basically send you the link, you set up your account, and then you can literally, anybody can use this. Like if you don't even need to buy a house and you'd like a good app for just checking out properties, seeing your own net worth, and creating a budget, this is for you. It's free. You can use it. And then if you do any work in it and you want to apply for a mortgage, you can just transfer all that work to the loan officer. And the other thing you can do is you can be in the middle of all this, and then you can allow the loan officer to access it, and you can solve a problem. And so our intent is you're either ready to go now, or if you're going to be ready in the future, but you want to be more ready, this gives you the ability to have things to work on and things to focus on. With that, there are a few people in the room and a few people online. And if anybody has any question, I will field it now. If you have a question about the app or anything I've discussed.
One quick thing I'd say for those who are watching, I did place the link in the chat if you want to get access to our application itself for sign up. So go ahead and grab it there if you're curious.
And if you're watching this on replay, just ask us, we'll send it over. No big deal.
Dave, does it
Well, with
send
that, go ahead,
any
Nathan.
notifications? Does it send any notifications to the originator or no?
Yeah, so the way that we have it set up is when major events happen inside the software, the loan officer gets a notification. So Zach, I actually had him follow up, but I had a guy, we did a home ownership class with some people, and they all enrolled in the FinLocker, and one of them, their credit went up enough that it notified us that their credit got better.
Okay.
So Zach is going to call that client and see how they're doing, because we know that their credit got better. The client has the ability to disable the notifications if they don't want to have us call them. But if the way that we have it set up is when cool things happen, we'll reach out to them to say, hey, how you doing? You know. And with that, I hope you find it helpful. It's free. You can install it. You can use it. It's just designed to give you more power and control over your destiny. At the end of the day, everything you just saw in this video is what a loan officer does to get you a loan. And so if you're not getting one right now and you're working on it, the reality is the process is going to be dramatically easier when you apply. I didn't mention this, but I'll close with this. There's a kind of a fantasy in the loan industry, and it's that a borrower would apply for a loan and get an instant approval digitally. And this software is part of that. There's a product called Fannie Mae Day One Certainty. And what Fannie Mae does is they try to scrub your bank accounts and your credit report and your job information. And if they can access all of it digitally, you can get an actual closable loan on day one and be able to just only order an appraisal if you need one. And even some properties nowadays come up with appraisal waivers. And so you could literally be 100% approved on the moment of application. So obviously there's lots of details. This type of thing is like only if you do everything perfectly. But to give you like a visual of what it looked like, so say you're like a Boeing employee and Boeing keeps all of their payroll data with ADP, that's accessible to Fannie Mae day one certainty. And if you bank at a bank that is part of these systems, the banking data would be there. And then your credit report. So when you fill out your application and hit submit, they would feasibly have all the data available to basically approve the loan for closing immediately. So probably years out before people can get it to actually be that easy. But this is one of the ways that a borrower could go about having a much better closing experience, is by just tracking themselves while they're waiting to buy a house. So appreciate everybody's attendance today. And we still have a menu of courses going weekly. So we will notify you. We have one next week, and we look forward to continuing to educate borrowers and professionals.